Pardon?
Sorry.
We also have some drawings of the proposed inside dimensions and outside pictures of the parking lot. So we'd ask you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Michelle Spencer, 2031 Collect Lane, Flossmoor.
Okay. Are you with this petition also? No. Okay, so you want to open a salon at 186-64 Dixie. You want to tell us in your own words some background information about yourself and your plan for the location.
Sure. I have been
Sorry, I didn't swear you. State your name and that you promise to we're going off to
that's okay.
promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I did.
Okay. And you already gave us your name and that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I have been specializing in natural hair. So it's different cultures, it doesn't matter what it is, but natural hair, I mainly specialize in dreadlocks, which is what I have here, but there are different variety of types of dreadlocks nowadays. So my clientele is, I have a very, I would consider it elite because I have, for instance, principals, doctors that have this type of style. And that is the only type of clientele I do. I have storefronts in Highland City, Lansing, or 2 shops in Highland City. I downsized to a salon suite in Orland because I am a college professor and department chair at Ivy Tech Community College and a part-time here in Washington. So I only do my clients here on certain days. The salon that I am looking to get is literally right around the corner of my house. Like literally, because I'm in Flossmoor, so I'm right across the street from the border. I walk four houses down, make a right across the street, and it's there. The timing would be perfect because I do a lot of things. I'm in my PhD as well in leadership and organizational strategy, and so as a result, I'm very busy. I only do my clients here maybe 3 days a week. But it would be ideal. And I did a marketing research basically on the area and the type of salons in the area. And no one specializes in that particular type of style. Here, you may have some salons that may just do regular maintenance on dreadlocks. However, there are a lot of different types of dreadlocks, such as sister locks. They have what's called mix. That is a new, very lucrative business. For example, just to do one head of that is like $1,500. Yeah, it's good money. In 2 days of work, I can pull $1,500 just doing regular maintenance. 2 days. That does not include my regular money I make doing my real job. But yeah, so that's what my business is. That's what I've been doing for a while. I'm a licensed barber, but I don't like cutting hair. So this is what I've been doing for a long time.
So are you also a licensed beautician then, or is that?
No, I'm a licensed barber. When I first started doing dreadlocks, this was before it became like a thing, before all the young folks started getting it. And it was when I had, at first you didn't have to have a license for it. So when they started doing natural license through the Illinois Department of Professional Regulations, it was like, do you want to go and do cosmetology, or do you want to go and do, barbering? I really don't like being around a bunch of women. So as a result, I don't. Because it's different in a cosmetology school. It's a lot of cattiness. So even in high school, I took up auto mechanics. I didn't take up, I don't, anyway, so that's why I went into barber school, because I had a lot of men clients at that time, so it was like, it made sense. But I'm very obsessive when it comes to making sure that my craft is perfected. So cutting hair and all those looks, I just didn't like it. So I just stuck with what I know. And so the dreadlocks is what I do. And, you know, I've won competitions in Atlanta for it. Every time I went and competed, I won. So I did that 3 times, 6 months, I did 3 times, I won. And so it's like, okay, next thing, you know. So I've been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
I brought pictures just in case you guys wanted to see like what sister locks are.
I do.
What,
Yeah.
So,
Do you want me to? Okay, so.
yeah, I don't know if the screen will show up real big, but just go ahead and click that first one. And so I do extensions as well. That is a technique where you use, hold on, let me grab this, I brought show and tell. That is a technique where you use like these tools here.
Can you see that?
Yeah, but you use like these tools, it's a bunch of different sizes, and you're literally creating dreadlocks from human hair, and then you attach them with this tool to the hair.
Oh.
That process alone can cost you $500 and up to get done. Regular maintenance is when you just palm roll the hair, like what my hair is, or even like what hair. I don't know this lady, but she has dreadlocks. Oh, you can't even really see that one.
Yeah.
So that's sister locks. That is used with a special tool as well to create very, very, very little fine locks out of small strands of hair. Now, this particular style, all these styles are done on like different cultures. It's just not African Americans that get it done. That's one of those things. But it's just that when I was coming up, it was just regular like dreadlocks, but they completely remastered the whole concept.
So are these actual attachments?
No,
To the hair?
that's her hair.
How
With
much,
the
how long
previous
does this
one?
take?
To start something like that, it can take between 1 to 2 days based on the hair. If they have really full hair, like our hair follicles, based on how big or thin your hair is, you either have one strand of hair, it may be thin and maybe thick, right? So some people have thinner hair, like when we get older, our hair thins out. So it's just based on how thick or thin the person's hair is.
By 1 or 2 days, how many hours?
Maybe 8 to 10. Even like the wigs, picture of that to show you. That's sister locks too. Click on that one.
This one?
Yeah. I just did a couple of pictures of the sister locks so you can just see the detail in the work. And then the other, click the one in the third one.
This one?
No, that's just regular. That's wigs.
Okay, so what is?
Wigs is something that you use with these tools as well, but you literally bind together, like if somebody had hair like mine, you're binding them with these tools and you turn them into that. And that's a minimum, maybe $1,200 and up. You know, if a person has thinning here, they can pay us $2,800 to get that done. Yeah.
And how long does that last till you take it out of it?
No. This is the hair. This is their look. It's for as long as they would like it, until they decide that they no longer want to get it. Because after they get it done, then, you know, they wear it and then they get it maintained. You use this tool and you split the root and you're binding that hair. So maintenance, you're looking at about $200 for maintenance. You look so shocked. It's so right.
So if you want to change,
How long do you do that?
Maybe like 2 to 3 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then this is.
Yeah, so with that shows you like someone that has regular dreadlocks and they binded them to turn into wigs.
so what if you just wanted to have straight hair? You could do that too.
You can cut it off. Yeah, and you just start with a fresh face. You know, our hair grows long. So.
So like if you wanted to have your hair like Angela's, can you just comb it out or?
I've combed my locks out. I combed them out during COVID,
You can
And-
call
when they're like this. Yeah, you can comb them out. It's comb yours out for too. Okay, it takes time. You know, my commitment was COVID. That was the only thing that, you know, because we were all shut down. So I literally, you know, you're sitting there and you're combing your hair out. But this, you know, locks is not just a trend or style. It can be cultural. It's just based on why you decided to lock your hair. You know, locks is just not anything that's done by one particular race. There are different races that have different, you know, these dreadlock styles. So
And how long did you say it takes to do like your haircut?
my hair, it takes me like 40 minutes. I have traditional locks. So there's what I'm saying, it's different types. They have traditional locks, and they have wigs, they have sister locks, you can get extensions. So I have traditional locks. I do my own hair. I don't let anyone in my hair. I do whatever I do on me, I do on my clients. So my hair takes about 40 minutes to do.
But you said others could take a lot longer.
It's just based on what service is being done. So predominantly, a lot of my clients, because wigs is a new thing that's starting out. So my clientele is predominantly traditional locks. They might get a hairstyle, like we get all types of nice styles with the locks and everything. And I wish I could have you up as a model, like. Because no, she has traditional dreadlocks, right? Are those extensions or?
No, these are lock stitch, not home.
Okay, so you get interlock.
Yes.
Okay, so that's another technique. I really don't practice that technique personally. I would like it to perish here, but that's.
Okay, let's start with number today. We have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions. I did go on a couple of the local Facebook groups where people are always asking for recommendations for various different practitioners. I looked for people who maybe were recommendations for people who do locks. I did find two, I think, that are within Homewood. Like you said, I don't know if they
I
specialize in
guarantee
doing
they don't,
specific,
because I do my research. Yes, ma'am.
but they did look like dedicated law practitioners that looks like they primarily do that. So I did do a little bit of that homework. Yeah, the rest of it, I think I might have some more questions after the conversation. Let's go a little bit, but that's all for now.
Number one.
I have a question for staff regarding the section identified as surrounding. And it lists B3 North, B3 East, South Flossmoor, one building is vacant, and then West, single family residential. It does not include South B3 Community Business District, multi-tenant shopping center on the east side of Dixie Highway. That represents half of the Southgate shopping area or business area. And I just wondered why that's not in there. Because there are other salons, as we have not identified them yet. There are spas, there are barber shops on the east side of Dixie in the 187 block. You start out with Farmers Insurance, the art corner.
I know exactly.
Thomas Photographic moved across the street. And you go down to Coldstone Creamery, then a vacant shop used to be the Pooch Parlor. You have a barber shop, the Learning Lab, Nail and Day Spa, Edward Jones, Cryo Spa, etc. That should be listed. Why is it not listed?
So where are you looking? Where it says surrounding?
I'm sorry,
Which page are you on? Where it says
the first
surrounding?
page,
Surrounding, where it says
surrounding.
east,
It says S, which means south. It shows one, Flossmoor.
right.
Vacant commercial property. There's only one building there.
Right. And then east, it says B3 multi-tenant shopping center.
Right. But it doesn't have the other half of the Southgate Shopping Center on the east side of Dixie. south of 187th Street.
Okay,
So right now, there are 41
right,
business areas, offices, spaces, because several of them utilize multiple spaces. So there's 41 in the shop, in the Southgate area. 10 of which are vacant.
I think that's what the east is referring to, the multi-tenant shopping centers.
So, I'm sorry,
I think that's what the east is referring to, but on the east side of Dixie.
the only thing on the,
And she's gonna be.
the only thing south is Flossmoor, which is on the west side of the street. I'm talking about south on the east side of the street.
Across the street where Southgate Pharmacy was, that's where the B3 starts, and then it goes south all the way, like you said, past Cold Stone.
Yeah.
And right to where like the white hand is, that whole strip is the B3 that's east on the east side of Dixie.
Exactly. And it's not this,
It is, that's what's east. You wouldn't list it twice. She's saying there is a B3 district east of this property. And it does run south of 187th, but that's the rectangle that creates that district.
It's on the east side of the street.
okay.
Otherwise, you'd be naming the district twice.
You could, I mean, but that. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but your point is right. It's one big rectangle that goes south 187. That's that
It's
entire
all the way
B3.
south, it's all B3.
I'm reflecting on the consistency of applications in the past where it included that in different language. This jumped out at me when I read it. It's- Okay, moving right along. Ms. Spencer,
Yes,
when you applied for your application for this case, did you complete any paperwork
Are you talking about in general?
in general?
Yes,
Did you complete any paperwork?
I completed a zoning application, it was 2 applications I completed, one, and then I submitted a floor plan. And then I submitted.
No. You're submitting a floor plan. I'm
No,
asking,
I'm saying I completed 2 applications, one was a planning and zoning, and it was another, but I cannot quite call the name of it. Special use? Special use, yes,
the standards for special use.
that's correct,
You completed that
that's correct.
by hand.
I used it on my computer, but yes.
You completed it on your computer.
Yes,
so
sir.
No, the question's going to a different one.
Okay,
Okay, so there, the only 2 documents that you completed by hand were the application.
everything I did through the Adobe on my computer.
Okay. Angela, correct me. Normally there is a copy of the application, there isn't in this instance.
I know what you're
And
saying.
then it's normally handwritten.
Well, I think that we're doing, the applications on the website now, you can apply through the portal on the
So
website.
everything is going to be on the website.
Not everything, but that's an option. So you can apply on the website, or you can apply by hand, but she applied on the
Okay.
website. There'll be 2 ways to
So
do
it's
it.
part of the new change.
It's part of the new, system that we've developed for applying online.
And we would get a copy of that, back.
This is it, this is the new, this is just the way it's formatted now.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks different.
The last question that I have is regarding parking. There's an illustration that indicates this particular building, and it lists 12,500 square feet, ratio of 300. Parking required 42, total provided 54. Again, this is inconsistent with the drawing illustration that was submitted with the other salon that went in that tenant, multi-tenant center, where the applicant backed down. It was too much, the cost of it was too much. Okay, if you look at that particular application and the illustrations with that, they're different. In the past, we have received parking illustrations indicating the required amount for each tenant and for a grand total. Why is there a change, an unannounced change? This part of the new system. In other words, again, it jumps out to me that when it was submitted before with that tenant, with that applicant, there was a breakdown of 5 of the 7 or 8 tenants in that area.
It's our new parking regulations. They don't distinguish, I don't think, it's a multi-tenant shopping center. It's treated as one. Those are the parking spots. So I believe that they are, and whereas before we used to do salons by chair and by employee, so that would be separated out from the other uses that were by square footage, but our new code does salons by the same standard.
That's why in the background, the definition was given
Right.
of a multi-tenant shopping center, and it does include in there the personal services being lumped in to that multi-tenant shopping center definition.
Yeah, there's a special, if you look in the parking chart, multi-tenant shopping centers are treated as one entity when they share parking. So it's by square footage of the entire center. The parking is calculated instead of by each use now.
These are just some of the questions that we'll have as we walk through in the future.
Definitely.
I agree.
Yeah,
No, I agree too. It's a different way of calculating.
yeah,
There, Mr. O'Brien?
yes.
I don't, it's not gonna just be me, I'm only gonna have one person, there won't even be a parking situation.
We're glad to have you here tonight. You were just discussing.
Yeah, I did, I was like, wait a minute, let me chime in, I'm only gonna have one customer, and I don't wanna work with anyone but myself. Like, currently, I'm in a suite, I'm by myself, it's going to work that way for me, because I have a lot of stuff, me and my fiance, we have a truck, we have a hot shot truck in business. I have a lot of things on my plate. I've always worked well with just, I had a big salon. It's hard to get folks that are credentialed to be able to do and have the same drive as you do to actually want to come in and work and pay you roof rent. So I found that when I downsize, that's it. It's just me.
I don't have a problem with your application. I was discussing parking, which is an issue,
Oh, yeah.
a very intense issue in certain areas, particularly the downtown area. And it needs to be discussed every time. And the change was noticeable, and I was just.
It is presented different than we normally see.
It's a
This is
different.
our first case on the new.
Oh, I
Ordinance.
okay.
You're okay.
Yeah, okay.
So it's, everything is
So
very.
some of the commentary is not directed to your case, it's in general.
Yeah, I'm like, let me help, let me ease his mind, let him know, hey, it's just me.
It's some,
No more questions.
in some ways, we're testing this new code. This is the
Okay,
first
well,
application.
I would love to be the test person.
You're our guinea pig case.
Hey, I'll take it.
Trying to figure it out.
Member Ken.
I don't have any questions of this.
All right. Member Vance.
I got a couple. Since I don't wear dreadlocks, chemicals. Well, chemicals that are used in any of the prep or treatment.
No,
Just-
unless
just-
the client gets color, but I'm a licensed stylist. Yeah, unless they get a color in their hair, like they can get a color, but it's just based on their preference, but no, it's not any chemical to do the maintenance or to do the style at all. Like even with wigs, you don't even use any product. Yeah,
So-
it's the only time a chemical is used is when they decide to get a color. And a lot of the ladies get the colors.
So no real need for like
I don't do any
chemical
relaxers,
control or disposal, or that's what I was getting.
not at all. Yeah, I don't do anything with relaxers, period.
And, so just to make sure we're all clear, so you're intend to be 3 days a week,
Yes,
and then it's by appointment only, one at a time,
yes.
and you may or may not have overlap of customers, like one
There's-
waiting for the other.
The only time that there's an overlap, okay, so the way, with regular maintenance, I twist pretty fast, like with roll. So I look on the hour for things like that, because by the time I've shampooed my client, twisted their hair, they're under the dryer, and now the next person's coming in. I keep it like that because that's how I make my money.
So in your queue
It-
of customers,
It's a rotation, like I said, with
like
my
2, 3,
two. I can't do three, because I can't touch the hair, and I'm kind of old school. If I can't touch your hair, you're just sitting there now, you're just sitting there looking at me waiting on service. And there's no need for you to do that. So I even call clients like, hey, I'm running 20 minutes late because I don't want people just sitting, I gotta keep them entertained. And I can only crack so many jokes before you just like, you know, at the end of the day, who's gonna continue to go to someone that they cannot get in their chair within a certain period of time?
sure. Okay. So the traffic flow will be very low.
Yeah, very low.
I think that's it. But those were the only 2 things I just wanted to clarity on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have too many questions at all. It looks like it's a very small space. And I can
It is.
imagine that, you really couldn't have all the 100 people in there with you. Very interesting. So thank you for bringing the examples to us.
Yeah, I figured I'd give a class.
That's great. Thank you. So if you got a rest, do you have any other break screens or anything? I mean, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of them.
There's a restroom in the back, but it's 540 square feet. So the way I set my layout, like the chair and your mirror and your station right here, 2 dryers, because that's kind of all you need, and your shampoo bowl. I don't need more than 1 shampoo bowl because I can't do more than 1 person's at a time. So 500, I'm currently in 210 square feet, and it is enough space for me. However, I want to get closer to my house, and I'm paying $1,600 a month now. I'm an accounting teacher. $1,600 a month now, that's $1,000 a month. Even with overhead, I'll be at about $1,400, because I'm not there that much. It just, saving $200. My mortgage is not cheap in Baltimore.
I can imagine.
Taxes are going up and they've gone up. Yes, so it kind of just all makes, sense. I'm not even looking to, like, I don't even take new clients unless they're referred by someone else. Because of my business and because that I do what I do so well, I haven't passed out a business card since 2010. I don't even have a business card. I don't do social media. I'm very old school. I still talk to my clients nowadays. All the kids, they do that style seat, and I can't think of the other things they do. But everything's online. I'm old school. I still call my clients. I still talk to them. So any referrals I get is just off my clients. And I've never had to, I haven't passed a business card out since 2010. And I do 20 heads in 2 days, like literally. Yes.
Well, good luck to you. I hope you.
I mean, for 17 years I've been doing this. That's why I still do it, even though I'm, full-time at a college as a supervisor.
Nice to be able to watch.
It is nice to walk to work. And so, I mean, I just been blessed to have a schedule that allows me to have so much flexibility. Being a college professor, you have, your flexibility is real. So it works. Thank you.
Okay, we answered one of my questions, I think. On average, how many people would you be doing in a day?
It's the average is between 8 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah. It varies based on what services are getting done. Like if I get a client that comes in and she's getting getting maintenance, my female clients, a lot of them get color and then a style. It may run or be a set, because that time frame, and I can only do so many people in a day, in that I don't want to work 12, I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not 30 anymore, so I can't do, I mean, it's just real. When I was younger, I can go in there and I just be working on, that is over with. I want to be out the shop by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So I do as many as I can from 9 to 7. And it's based on how many, maximum maybe 9, 10, but minimum probably about 6 or 7 if they get a lot of like services, because that money adds up, Doing a color and a style, that's another month.
Okay, so what are your prospective hours going to be?
Like 9 to 7.
Is that Monday through Saturday?
I'm very even, like, there's no requirement on how many days you have. Okay. So like, if I have a day off at the school, because like we got President's Day off, like I might go up there and do a head. But believe me, when I am off, when I want to be out, I need at least one day to breathe. So yeah, let's say Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, but I won't be there Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7. Definitely Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay.
But those other days it might be ahead, and that's if I can get up and go over there. My
And you're
client.
not going to be over on Sunday?
No, that's my day I breathe.
Okay.
That's my breathing day.
And are your customers, your clients going to enter through the front or through the rear?
Through the front,
And the car out the front?
yes,
Is there like?
yes, there is a back door, but because I'm by myself, like the front door will be locked and the back door will be locked. Yeah. I don't, the world is different.
All right, I think we've answered all my questions. Anybody else have anything else? Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
No.
No. Very small space, not a ton of
Nothing
businesses to
missing.
go in there, so
Right.
it's something one-on-one.
Yeah, it's
Do
fine.
we have questions in the audience? No? All right, then I guess we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend approval of case 23-01 to grant a special use permit for a salon establishment in B3 General Business District for the Natural U, LLC at 18664 Dixie Highway, and incorporate the findings of fact into the record.
Okay, we have a motion by O'Brien, do a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Chuck. Roll call.
Member Alfonso,
Yes.
member Bransky,
Yes.
member Cap,
Yes.
member O'Brien,
Yes.
member Castaneda,
Yes.
Chairman Zazeka.
Yes. Well, good luck to you.
Well, if I can do a cartwheel, I would. My legs are not the same anymore, so thank you all. Very nice meeting everyone.
We have a good evening.
You as well.
Oh, do I flash out?
Oh, yes, I need that. It has all the school stuff on it. I might see some of you grandkids in school, here in Washington or something. No, that one was on a flash drive. Remember you say those for the,
Yeah, but she didn't eject her flash. I didn't eject it.
oh, okay. And that's one habit I have that's bad. I won't reject numbers.
So that's one question. So Rastafari, that's
That's,
is that
That's different.
naturally occurring? Is they don't
that's
do
a
anything?
naturally occurring.
Or they have to
Yeah.
still get it that way?
I've seen, my
The
mom
reject,
was married to a Jamaican, so it's like her hair.
Yeah, there you go.
They would do it like with a towel.
And
And,
like roll it.
no, just a towel.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because then curly hair, yes, because curly hair, they put our hair naturally curls to the right. So they do it with a towel and it starts to preform.
Okay.
So that's called a preform. They don't care about me.
And it
I
continues
do,
that way.
Right, it continues to grow and they continue to do that style. But I do what's called cultivated lots. Cultivated is for the meter, yeah. Yeah, very nice to meet all of you, and thank you very much. Yeah, I thought you were saying about- oh, Yes, so I'm 18664, hopefully. For you, that's just gonna be dreadlocks. Yes, yes. I don't have. My number is 719 lock. Very easy, right?
Yes, you can have any, if you're going to see if anyone has anything to add to our ongoing list of changes to the code or questions yet.
Not for me.
I do.
Okay, good.
Okay, in the new book on page 35, item 5B, it says basketball equipment. And it's got some, item 5B.
Oh, wait, which section are you in?
I'm in,
Because they're all numbered individually.
yeah, the under tab 4, special use, special specific standards.
It says page 35.
32 pages in section 4.
Page 35.
It's page 35 of 154.
of 154. It says the household recreational facilities. And item B mentions household recreational facility and any accessory equipment shall not be located in the front yard setback, except basketball equipment, which shall be located 5 feet from interior side and 10 feet from front lot lines. Where do those dimensions come from? It's not mentioned in our previous.
Which I'm completely not on the right page.
Article 4.
Yeah.
Page 17 and 32.
The middle number? 35.
17, oh, 35, oh, 35.
35 of
The middle number, that's a different number, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was something that was discussed, that we wanted standards for that, so
We never really discussed it, so.
I think we did during,
We asked to have it considered, but I don't.
We never came to a conclusion. Because I think I asked you at the, is it at the last meeting? December 8th meeting, or the one just prior to that?
right,
About, because there was a question about basketball hoops.
right.
And I believe your answer was, we're still looking into it. So we never came up with any dimensions. My question is, where do they come from?
I don't know, I would have to look through which version of the code and when we come up with it. I know, and how, I don't have those notes with me right now.
So if your garage is 8 feet from the front lot, line, you can't put a basketball in your garage.
No, these are, household and any accessory equipment shall not be located in the front yard setback except basketball equipment, which is 5 feet from the exterior side and 10 feet from front lot lines. Yeah, if your house is, yes, that's right. If your house is 8 feet, it's really close to the street that way. I had thought we discussed this at some point, but I don't.
We had discussed it briefly, but we never really came to a conclusion.
I've been handicapped because my printer is down. I had to purchase a new one. I've got the Geek Squad coming in on Sunday. And so I've not been able to get out some information regarding this and some other issues. In November of 21, November 21st, perhaps. There was a transmittal that we received, and in the bottom of the transmittal, it indicates that the staff withdrew that particular application.
There was
And,
a request for basketball.
pardon me?
There was a request for basketball.
Yes, it was a
That was
case.
written
The case number was changed twice. It was 21-39, and then it was 21-40, and then it changed back to 21-39. And,
It was withdrawn. Because it wasn't permanent, it was a.
no, I'm just explaining, I'm just giving,
Yeah,
you know,
I remember.
history, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah,
And so it was withdrawn by staff. There's a 3-line statement at the bottom of that case indicating that it would be discussed later. Later never came. From November of 21 to December 8th of 22, there is no 21-39 or 21-40 on any meeting or
right
workshop.
now, the case itself wasn't going to ever be discussed, because the case was withdrawn. So that, but the topic was going to be in our new code. So this was part of our new code drafted.
That wasn't communicated to us.
Well, I don't believe every number and every page of the code was communicated. I don't think that we went line by line and discussed it. So I don't remember.
However, basketball specifically, if you look at the old code.
But there's 15 issues regarding that. If you stop to think about it, we never discussed it. If it never came before the commission for a full discussion and a vote, how can it be in the zoning ordinance? It's an obvious question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just saying it's a logical question. We've never approved it. We've never approved anything in the zoning ordinance. On page 13 of the 154, it indicates basketball equipment, comma, at least 5 feet from interior side lot line and 10 feet, and it drops off and stops in mid-sentence. There is not a completion. So the reference material that we have is not complete. It's just, it is what it is. I'm just pointing out facts on page 13, and it's basketball
Oh, yeah,
equipment.
you're right. It's the format
Let me just go through with a potpourri of questions. I have 2 in proximity to me. One is across the street. It's a portable one. You roll it up. You sit it next to the driveway. The driveway is the court. Okay, that's very common throughout the village. There's no discussion as to whether there can be 2. Okay, one on each side of the court. Why not? You got a big driveway. Okay, you can do that. But there's no discussion of that. The other one, it's 2 doors down from me, is a Park District quality facility. Best way I can describe it, it is a facility. It is probably 25 by 55 feet. There are permanent baskets on each end. There is a light on a tree. You could go out and play night basketball. So the obvious question becomes, would the commission have approved night basketball? And what impact would that have on surrounding property?
Well, that's a court. That's different than equipment. If you have a court, that's different. That's a different.
But the whole thing is different, and it also impacted on that defunct study that was made regarding adding houses on the lot. Obviously, well, one of the obvious questions is, did that particular professional court come to the village for a permit so that the constructed court, the concrete, how it's put together, was approved, has been inspected?
And that's in someone's yard,
This is someone's yard.
so just like if it was a tennis court or a
Exactly,
basketball court.
exactly. And so there would have to be a question as to distance for the rear lot line and the side, you know.
Yeah, that would be a question, I guess, for the building.
And so if that was approved, if that was approved or would be approved, that's 2.
That's a basketball court, that's different than equipment. than what this is talking about.
What I'm trying to describe is there's about 15 different questions that the commission would have had in reviewing that particular subject of basketball hoops. There was a study that was withdrawn that was provided by the village. It had 153 hoops listed throughout the village by address. These two that I'm mentioning tonight were not on that list. So that makes 155. Okay, if you have a pickup game, you have two people on each side playing ball. Okay, where do those players come from? Those are classmates, they're neighbor kids, whatever. Okay, if you have 4 of them, then take the 155 and multiply it by 4. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the impact of a good thing in the village where the young people are playing ball in the neighborhood. So it has an impact. All of this was never discussed. So the impetus, the drive, whatever you want to call it. We went through an exercise with a consultant. Okay, consultants are not infallible, and all of their recommendations were not accepted. And I don't know, it's just, I don't know how something like that could get into the zoning. Somebody made a decision, an incorrect decision, because those items, any of these items on any page are with the approval of the commission. Basketball was not approved. Did someone make a particular decision to allow it in? Now, when you're working with a consultant, there were a lot of things that came up, probably 25, that were originally included in various meetings, presentations, if you will, by the consultant. Not all of them, as I stated, would be approved. But I get the feeling that we had to have this in here so that we could say that we have it. We've tried to get everything that we possibly could in this updated zoning book. And that's not the way we should be working. We're not functioning as a commission like we should. We're not deliberating. This is a deliberative body, and we're not deliberating. We're not having full discussions about things as we've had in the past. And in my mind, my opinion, that we have to have a meeting consistent with the Open Meeting Act among the commission. How do we continue? How are we going to function in the future? The one thing I'll mention is the dismissive attitude throughout the entire process with the consultant. That's the reason I went back and I identified the missing points throughout all the presentations in the workshop up to that point. Different commissioners asked questions and they asked for materials. And the consultant said that it would be taken care of, even indicating that they would contact the attorney on one particular one that was asked by the chairman. None of that took place. It was just dismissed. So I went back on those 15 and enumerated them in the list. We took care of it on December 8th. We went down one after the other. Now, in the point of the discussion of several rules, the recommendation by the consultant was reversed. I remember members, commissioners, Captain and Senate, they were both talking about the, what was it, fee and lieu tree, the trees. That was a good conversation. We arrived at a good conclusion. I don't know, it's frustrating. I'll tell you another one. There were about 3 or 4 individual experiences or events that took place where there was a dismissive nature regarding the commission. There was a question that came up, and we discussed it at length, and it had to do with plats of survey, plats, just plats in general that are submitted. And this has been a question and a problem that we've had. The Village of Homewood is blessed with in my mind, a planning and zoning commission that is in keeping with the village. It has good diversity, age, race, gender, the professional background, work experience, everything. They're blessed to have this particular commission. In addition to that, many of the commissioners for years have gone out to sites with measuring tools, measuring tapes, whatever it would take on a particular application. And they've done their due diligence. And I would like to think that we've contributed to, the commission has contributed to where we're at today in the village. And I don't know whether anybody knows this, that placed this in the zoning board, and in the zoning code, but that this is a quasi judicial body. It's a deliberative body. And decisions that we have that we recommend to the village board sometimes wind up in court. I think we've had a pretty good record with regards to, because of the due diligence that we have done. I think we have a pretty good record from those coming out of court. I know that the chairman of I have been, I think we're the last 2 left on the commission that were written up in the newspaper as part of the Homewood 4, because someone was so incensed with regards to a structure that they put up that didn't allow for the fire department to run a gurney between the buildings. They just couldn't do it. I don't know, I could go on for a long time, but it's just, it was not a good feeling completing that. The meetings, the workshops, there was a tremendous waste of time. Tremendous waste of time. I felt that we could have got this, we could have finished this probably 2 months earlier. I was afraid that if I asked a question on December 8th, I would be pilloried, you know, as a result of extending it some more. We all knew that we could file amendments later on anything that was a question. It just, I don't know, it was not a good feeling. I'll tell you one thing.
My feeling was some of it seemed very rushed.
Oh, it was extremely rushed. Everything had been done certainly. This is a deliberative body. And maybe someone does not appreciate that nor understand. We have taken days, meetings, multiple meetings to go through something. Maybe someone could have, maybe they thought they could have gone through it much faster. They probably could, with a different result.
We may have also been working under a budget for the consultant. We may have only been so much time allowed. But I don't know how it was structured.
Yeah.
But that could also have been one of our constraints. If it was, I don't think it was really brought up to us. But
No, it was never brought up to us.
but that could be part of the issue.
I'll give you an example that tied into tonight. And a meeting, the minutes that we approved tonight. The reason I wrote loose ends, there are 2 reasons. One was expressed in the list of 15 as loose ends that we covered. That is the manner I was expecting the consultant to go through on all of the issues. Have item one, let's have a full discussion, you come to a consensus, you check it off. Off of the 25 or so that were listed. There was something else that happened in the workshop. So I called the consultant in her office and I asked her to me the obvious question. Do you have a list of all of the recommendations that you have made to us? And she said, no. Well, why not? I mean, that's the bread and butter of a consultant. They live on what they recommend and they follow up on that. And that's how they market. Now, how could a consultant like that? Now, according to the job title, the listing, she was a senior consultant. I doubt that. I don't know what her experience is or credentials. Has she completed 10 of these? This is a rather simple exercise. This is a landlocked, small, 19,000 population village. It is not Madison that has thousands of acres of yet farmland to take charge of and build something. The economy is directing that, however. But that has a completely different, you'd have a completely different approach for Madison than you would here. So this was a rather simple exercise. I go back to what I said before. Were they trying to fit everything that's out there in the marketplace in urban planning today? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But the thing, coming back to item number 2, which I didn't write a memo on, in the December 8th meeting, Mrs. Hardy, who's mentioned in our minutes, who is a brand new African-American female entrepreneur in the village. She asked a very obvious question. Do you have a list of the recommendations to the old zoning code? Why would she ask that? She seemed to be so sharp that she probably got a copy of the old code and went through it. And so she was asking for the changes to the old code. We were not able to provide her with that list that I asked the consultant about of the changes that she was recommending, but did not list. It goes around. Now, how did we look as a village not being able to provide a new commercial resident that list? It doesn't make sense. And then on top of that is not only are we like tonight going to ask questions as we walk through each of these cases, but the meetings and the workshops and that every time that something comes to us, there's a change. It's not discussed. It's not announced. I'm going to stop. I don't want to.
I think to your point, I brought it up at the meeting on the 8th, was that can we please establish that working list so that we don't lose some of these topics.
Exactly.
It may take a while to get to all of them. And especially if, some of them like in this, like in a meeting, there may come up a topic where we get done with the meeting or that case and say, that it didn't flow very well. How can we change that?
Exactly.
Forthcoming, add it to the list. We don't have to have a discussion about it that night, but let's keep that living list, because I think that was the intent, because we knew that we had to get to a point where we had to publish something. So, I guess my question is, do we have that list? Or have we started that list? Because I think it was supposed to jump off of your list of.
I wrote up that list after I talked with her. That's the reason I'm grabbing 25 as a number. I think I wound up with, because there were introductions in each one of the presentations of 3 or 4 or 5 and so forth. And so when they got to the end of the presentations, there was a given number, like 25. Well,
Does
just
that
because
list exist, Angela?
No, I don't think that did we have a list?
We talked about starting.
And I don't think it ever got started.
Because I think that what the idea would be is that, like tonight was a one case night. Would have been good to, have said, okay, hey, why don't we bring like 2 of these topics? Throw some of the background information about those topics. Here's what it was in the old ordinance. Here's what we started talking about for the new one. And attach that to our case for tonight. And we could have been sitting here talking about 2 topics. We might not resolve them, but we'd start a discussion. And then at the next meeting, maybe we would say, okay, let's make a decision on that. And then the next meeting, a couple of months later, we've got a one case meeting, do the same routine again. And we'll chip away at it, but we don't lose them. I think that's what's important.
I 100% agree. I don't think we have that list.
Can you ask Valerie if she has?
I don't think it was ever started. I think that the intention was that after that meeting that we would get a list of items. Did we develop?
Well, I thought we had a handful that just never got resolved from our sessions.
Right.
And then
That
it was asked that if anybody had anything more to send them in so that she could add them to the list. No, I didn't send anything.
No, I don't know.
I have an exception to that.
No one sent any in.
No, I have an exception to that. As a deliberative body, as the commission, that would be another change that we have not experienced over the years. In other words, if something comes up, it should come up here and we should discuss it and determine it. It should not be funneled to an individual or 2 people to make a determination and then come
Oh,
back. to
no,
us.
I didn't mean for them to make a decision as to whether or not to address it. I just meant
Topics to it.
holding us to make a group so that we can talk about each and every one of those. Not for somebody to decide what we will talk about.
Right.
If I had 3, you had 3, you had 3, we've got 9, we're gonna talk about each and every one of them.
Okay,
But yes.
the way I would
Yes,
approach
that's
that is 3, 3, and 3. If they're to be submitted to staff, those copies have to come back to us.
Well, yeah, we gotta know, what we have, and then anytime that we would plan to talk about them, let's get some background info together. Yeah, so we just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Because exactly what was supposed to be happening.
Are there minutes of these discussions? Could we go back through all of the meetings and pluck out questions that people had and make the list?
That's what I did with the loose ends,
Yeah,
went
those
back to
were
the very
really
beginning.
adjustments.
meticulously going through, and those were 15 that were pulled
Right, I
out.
just wondering if there were any more than that you were talking about.
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I wrote another memo and I listed the 25. And what I will do as soon as I get my computer printer working, I will send you a copy of those 25. And they're right off of the presentations. I mean, it's a very simple thing to do. Add another code or a tab or something in your computer and just, put it in. The consultant could have done that. I mean, I've worked with enough consultants that, it's rote to them. It's just natural.
All right, I have one other question.
You're an urban planner.
Your consultants?
Yeah.
I'm not a traditional planner, I kind of focus on housing and real estate, so not a ton of practice.
So you don't deal with,
Strict planning in grad school, but ever since then.
no consultants.
No.
So Brian, when you get your computer up and running and you get that list together, don't forget to add basketball.
Yes. Oh.
All right, here, I got one other for you. On page 107, 154. Under tab 7 zoning procedures. Item 44-07-02. Which would be item B, filing. Okay, page 107 and 154.
Yeah.
All right, it says the item 2, the application shall contain at a minimum the information detailed for approval type in the zoning application requirements document in appendix A. I went through this book top and bottom, there is no appendix A.
Yeah, that's what I emailed to everyone.
Okay, you did, because
I did.
I had called you.
Did
You
No,
sent me the
no.
link.
Whatever, the day that you called me, I emailed it out to everyone, appendix A. It was for some reason not printed with this, but there is an appendix A that I did send in an email to you all.
Okay, now, was that appendix A? Did you look at the appendix A from our old book?
No, I sent the appendix A from the new book to everyone.
February 1st is on.
Yeah, I got a copy.
Okay, that's what I sent.
All right, and I haven't had a chance to go through it.
It was just not printed, it should have been,
Right.
it's part of the code.
But in the old book, under appendix A, it mentioned how many copies of this you needed.
Right,
Is that all the same under the new book?
no, because we generally take electronic submittals, we don't need 20 copies of everything. Used to be that you needed copies just to pass out when we pass out paper, we don't do that anymore. So, we don't need 7 copies of everything so that we can give them to you, and then 7 more to give to the board, and then 5 more for each staff member, it's usually done electronically.
Okay, can the appendix A that you sent everybody be included in our new book? So you don't have to refer to, if somebody wants to look up something in the new requirements.
Yes, I can print it for all of you.
No, but for the average person that wants to do something, are they gonna have to go? I have no idea where this link is at to find appendix A.
The average person is not gonna have a paper copy of this code. It's all online. We're not gonna, nobody's gonna have a paper code except you.
Okay, but online, where it says in appendix A, how are they gonna know where to find it?
It's in the code.
Huh?
It's in the code.
But how do they get to appendix A? It was a different link that you had to send me to.
Right, I
Is
sent
it-
you a link with just appendix A because that was all you needed, but when we codify this online, it's all gonna be in Unicode, and appendix A is gonna be right there with it. It hasn't been done yet, because it takes months to codify it, yeah. It hasn't been done yet,
So the average citizen will be able to, where it
Yes.
says appendix A.
yeah,
That will be
it's all gonna be right
perhaps
up.
maybe the next page.
Yeah, when you go to Unicode right now, the zoning code is there, the old code was there. They have to process it so that they put it into their formatting, and it takes a little while.
I think now it's in March.
Yeah, March, maybe it'll be up there, it's not, the code is not, there's just a PDF of it online now temporarily. So, yeah, it will be there though, with the code.
Because it would be very helpful for the average citizen if they want to do something,
Oh, yeah,
to
absolutely,
find out what appendix A is at.
yes, it would be in the code.
All right. That was the last of my questions for today, so. Did anybody else find anything that they need to bring up today?
Well, the only thing that, I guess the question
Except
is.
Bill.
I guess the only question is, how does the commission feel about how we should interact, deliberate, and move forward with the new code? Because tonight was obvious example, and there were changes and differences, and I guess I'm trying to prevent us bumping into situations in the future,
Right.
that delays meetings and creates problems. So maybe we should think about how we need to move forward.
Well, I think somewhere in appendix A, and I didn't read the new one that you sent. It should mention in there, your case may be continued if you have not, if your application is not complete.
You want to reference it?
Well, doesn't it already go as without saying, isn't there already saying?
Appendix A,
Yeah, but it's-
which you're just discuss it.
Does it say in here?
It
Right,
says,
say-
under C, C is completeness, on the next page, page 108. If the application is not complete. Shall be dismissed with no further action.
To answer Brian's question. I'm kind of thinking out loud, does it make sense? At the beginning of a case, before we dive in, we all have time to do our homework, to read it, etc. To ask, does any commissioner have any issues or questions related to the conversion to a new ordinance? So
Good
for
thought.
instance, you noted the difference in how the parking was
Yeah.
noted. That way, before we start the case, we can clear up some potential misunderstanding that could divert the travel, the path of the case, or the line of our question. And if we discover that there's a problem, then at least the applicant and the board knows, before we even start the case, ooh, there might be an issue. And we can either adjust that during the case, or maybe we need to come back, get that question answered, and bring the case back another night. If it's that big of a deal, it's something that needs clarification, I don't know what.
I think that's a good thing.
Do that for a while until we flush out, and then maybe gone through almost everything that's new.
Yeah, we don't want to have someone that's supposed to bring a plan in. And we get here for the meeting, we have no plan. And we had this happen a couple times in the past year. We're kind of guessing along with the applicant. Is this plan change from what is currently there now?
Well, and
It has to be done.
yeah, and remember Ryan's question, like tonight, our applicant thought that you were talking about her parking issues or potential parking issues, that you were talking about
Right.
what the
Good call.
code and what was presented to us at large, but she didn't know that.
Right.
So if we can talk about that before the case starts, if we're all doing our homework, it makes us look a lot sharper. Instead of stumbling on it, we actually bring it out, and the people who are coming up here are gonna feel a lot more confident that we know what we're doing. Because we're not, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't look right, and,
Well, it's like-
yeah, so you know what you're doing up there, do you? So we should do our best to make sure that we discuss
That was
this.
so evident in one of the meetings, actually two of them, where I had 149 pages, you had like 153,
Oh, yeah.
and the consultant was at the podium, and she had a different count. And then the other meeting, the references were being given, and the page numbers were different, and the illustrations that we were provided
It was totally different.
totally different. I mean, you're talking about looking good or looking bad. That's a perfect example. No, I think we ought to get together and talk about how we're going to proceed.
Well, that's just one idea, that's just one way to do it, as we do our homework, if we find something that rings a bell, and say, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look the same as the other ordinance, it's just a big deal, or I'm confused, bring it up before we dive into the case.
Well, it's like the questions that were with the new format.
And it adds to transparency too.
Well, the reason I asked that question is because our cases sometimes go to court. Okay, and when you are testifying, if you're ever asked to provide a statement or oath, you have to have an original document. You can't have something that's been transcribed. Now, Angela's explanation that now this is being converted and everything is coming in online, that's obviously it changes that. There's That's the reason I asked her, even the application, we used to get the applications, and there's no,
This, I believe.
there's no copy of the application in here.
This is the way the new application looks.
Well, it's the special use, but so there's no, that typical zoning variance one, we're not gonna see that?
If there's.
Or no, she didn't have a variance, she wasn't asking for a variance. So that's why we didn't see it.
So
I
this
think
is
we have to discuss how we're proceeding,
this is
the
the
new
special
forms.
use.
and the look of an applicant.
And where did the new format come from?
It's our interactive, we have a,
It's the software we had built.
we built software for people to be able to file building permits, everything can be filed online now, it's a new software program. So they can go in and type this in and then push submit and it comes to us. It's just the way things are done now.
Is this
The same.
language
The concept.
put together by the computer?
No, it was taken from the existing applications.
This is the
All paper
existing application,
applications.
it's just in a different format.
It's all the same information that was on the paper applications.
It's just formatted differently.
Well, it sounds like a commander. When reviewing an application for a special use permit, the planning and zoning commission are to use the standards for a special use. Well, I mean, we're all experienced. I mean, I take exception to the syntax.
Well, I think
I
that's
really do.
aimed at the general public.
Yeah.
It's like a primer for the general public.
But this is the way that they have to do it. That we have.
Do you have to do it that way?
No, we don't. No, we can change the language.
It provides a couple of extra pages because of all the verbiage that's in these applications now. I mean, it's a completely different looking package that we receive now than we did 2 years ago.
Yes, it's very.
And I don't think it's, some things are good and some things are bad, and those things we ought to talk
Well, even
about.
the memorandum for the particular case,
It's very,
that's totally different.
yes, it's very different.
And is that in the new system or this
No,
was,
that's just our new.
this
That's the
was
way we're,
designed by someone?
it's our new design. We have a new design for our village board packets and the memos, and they all, everything goes online now. So that's the difference. This entire packet goes on the website, so everything's the same format, which is very different than the format we had before. But it's just because everything is consistent. So this is the way the village board packets are done, and then this is through the same program. As the,
And they're happy with them?
I'm not asking.
I like the other way now.
Okay.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay. Yeah, it's just,
I don't know how the rest of you folks feel, but
No, I think it's fine. I like this, it's neater, it's cleaner,
It's fine.
it's consistent.
I mean, I adapted to it pretty.
I think some of the extra information is aimed at the public.
it is because now it's on the website, so
Yeah.
now anyone can see it, and so it does have to be worded differently.
And I think it lends a little bit to number one, educating the public as to how this process works, which is long overdue. And number two, adds to the transparency of what we're doing.
That's why we're doing it.
So,
So what I,
supports your notion about being able to handle that. Hopefully, we don't get their court case. Transparency's there, it's documented.
Yeah.
It helps us.
The language has to be.
It does have.
the only thing I don't like about this is that there's no way to distinguish, even actually. There's no,
Yeah,
there's
you're
no
right.
signature.
It's Hale 2000.
But,
I can't open the doors.
yeah, I don't know what the legal implications are without having to sign the application.
Do an electronic signature.
I believe you can sign everything electronically now.
Yes.
Well, but my point is,
we don't have.
we don't have, we didn't have a sign, whether it was.
Is there a way to do that?
Was it Adobe? Like, would you do an Adobe?
Yeah,
No,
there's a
It's
DocuSign
not.
that you could use, but
Yeah,
we don't have.
no, it's just a box, and so they fill it out, contractor signature, and they just type in their name.
Let me throw this out
It
there.
doesn't need
Your
it.
applicant signature, yeah, just type in their name, there's no option for a signature.
That's legal now.
Let me throw this out there then. Because we're reviewing this information. And you feel like, this sounds like a lawyer answered this. Well, then that's more questioning for the applicant. Okay, can you tell me what you mean by, I mean, I wrote that on tonight's. Some of the way that she answered some of these questions, I mean, let's, gotta be honest, some of the questions are kind of, they could be written a little better in my mind, but I won't go there. But I made notes to myself. She answered, so number 6, will special use cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood in which it is located? My business will not decrease the value of any other properties. Also, my business will not cause damage to revenue earned within the community. I wrote down in red for myself, what do you mean? My business will not cause damage to revenue earned. What, I just was like, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I just didn't feel the need to ask the question after I heard her, and, talking. I had 2 other ones. Some of them, she just gave a recitation of the question as her answer.
You know,
And I was like,
Isn't it-
so if the case, so my point being, if the case came across from the applicant with them talking, seemed kind of wishy-washy, I would have asked these questions. But she was very well spoken and her case was very simple and straightforward, so I didn't feel there was any need to go there.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean now is, yeah, it's not handwritten, and yeah, it could have been filled out by anyone, could have been filled out by an attorney. That's for us now to smooth out when we have them up there and get them to re-answer the questions to your liking.
But do you care if it's?
Well, if it makes a difference, if the case is complicated enough, if there's,
Maybe we need it.
but to be honest, even a handwritten one can be filled out by anyone.
But my point
but that's
was,
how we get the question.
I think what you're saying, Sarah, is really excellent, but my point is just to have somewhere in the application, real signature.
Is it required because it's a legal document?
Isn't it? If we are, it isn't. So an application, I'm just asking. So an application for a special use permit here with us, which has as Bill reminds us as quasi-legal implications, is not a legal document.
It is, but it doesn't require a real signature. I mean, I don't know how many of you have done like electronic signatures on all kinds of legal documents.
No,
I
no,
signed
no.
my mortgage that way.
But
I signed my mortgage that
I did too. My mortgage was electronically
Yeah,
signed.
but there's not even an electronic signature on it.
Just
So,
typing your
there's
name
not-
in now counts as a legal signature.
But it's
Where's the name
time
tag?
that you have to sign the document, even though the computer
Nope,
never.
I've done medical documents that way.
I do all my documents that
All I
way.
have to do is type in my name, that counts as a signature.
I don't sign anything.
Somewhere it has it shows you different styles of lettering with your name, and you pick the one for you want.
Sometimes, but sometimes you
Not
just.
usually.
Yeah, I don't feel great about
I don't need that, but that's.
the other one, figured.
Well, see, they don't
Okay.
use cursive anymore. That's-
Can I make a suggestion, a simple suggestion?
The last generation of Windows.
So in the top of the special use, you have the street address, requested use, business name, applicant name. Okay, that's general information. At the tail end of the application, would it be simple to add a checkbox that says, by checking this box, you affirm that the answers you've given above are true and correct to the best of your knowledge, and have a type of name.
Yeah,
Let me dovetail
I mean, is
onto
that-
that. As
Is
this
this halfway
procedure,
there?
I'm sorry,
No, I'm just saying, does that kind of get you halfway there to the signature?
I think that's, yeah.
let me
You're asking
dovetail
about
onto
the
that and ask the question. Has these forms or process or new application material been submitted to the village attorney for review and approval? Because unlike other commissions, the decisions we make sometimes go to court. And he is going to represent the cases that go to court from us.
Well, the final decision is made by the village board, and there is an official ordinance that is approved by the the village board and they all sign off on it. And I think that's the final decision. What we have to ensure we have is that the findings and facts and the minutes from the meeting, and then it's all discussed. That's the legal document that goes forward. This application is,
Because there are times when that application, the information and the application can change because we change it because of the testimony and the answers given. But we always note that in the findings of fact and changing the motion.
I don't know, it's a good question. I don't know how much Gavin there is in the application. Because I've had applications handwritten that were just terrible, like that said one word. And that there was a signature on them, but there were no actual answers to the question.
But I'll guarantee a signature guarantees the content's good.
See, a lot of,
Right, exactly. That's
just to talk to.
why we have a hearing.
A lot of the causes of action, which Mr. Dexter tells us, is really important. A lot of the ways of for anybody to challenge a decision that we make on a zoning case, it almost always hinges on whether or not people follow the proper procedures, not just what is in our zoning ordinance, but also what in our particular case, because we're not home rule, what the state statutes allows us to have in our zoning ordinance. And I had brought up context of regulating things for those things. But my point here is just coming back to it. I mean, personally, as a professional engineer, we have to sign things. And yes,
Oh, yeah.
and yes, we have an electronic way of doing it. I understand it, but nevertheless, it's still a signature that isn't somehow generated by a computer that we like a neat cursive handwriting in contrast to our own chicken scrawl. But again, it distinguishes well, no, it really doesn't matter. I'm just questioning, and this is more thinking out loud, that as Bill suggested, maybe we need to training off. That's if our decisions here are to be, let's say, bulletproof, legally speaking, we have to make sure that we have empowered our ordinance with what the state allows us to, but then also beyond that, we're not missing something that's really obvious. And maybe having a personally signed application is not a big deal, but if anything would be subsequently challenged, it's always about following procedures. We have to demonstrate that we've done everything correctly. Like I said, it maybe sounds a little silly about a piece of ink on a piece of paper, but and I'm not suggesting that we have something like that, but literally the equivalent of a final signature on the application might be a good idea, and probably the better way to solve this is just the village attorneys.
I can ask the village
You mean I'm going to have to retire my etch a sketch?
Yeah.
Yep. But don't get rid of it.
Just kidding.
Just get rid of it, because it's gonna be worth a lot of money, probably is right now.
Well, the bottom line is, we have to think about how we're gonna move forward. That's it.
Yes.
And we'll just have to ruminate on it. The next meeting, talk some more about it.
So are we, to clarify and to summarize, are we in agreement here that what was described as Bill's loose ends, is that the core of what we're going to use as a starting point for our
Just that,
proverbial list?
Yeah.
And work through them?
Yes.
I think we need to.
I think we should.
I felt throughout the process that because some things were mentioned on an agenda for a meeting that was tacit approval, that they were okay. And some of them really weren't discussed much at all. So I'll give you the list that I have,
Okay, good, please. do that.
and we can start from there and go down, and we can all provide our thoughts. And
Okay, send a list to me and at the next meeting, we will start to review that list.
Okay.
And if anyone else has items, send them on. I've been like keeping my eye on those things, but as I try to apply it.
All right, anything else, otherwise?
I personally am going to look to you because you've always been very helpful and a good support to the commission. So,
And this is important, that this be right, and this, the general of it, so.
good.
Nobody else has any other questions or comments? I will then entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Brian and George.
All right.
Roll call.
Very nice.
Everybody approves?
Yeah.
Thank you all again.
Thank you.
I don't know if you set up those words, but I can't see that font.
Oh, we gotta move this way.